All right, I'm gonna test my mic here, but looks like it's working. So we'll go ahead and jump right on in. Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Nomad Zen here, and we're live. We're live on stream. Welcome to the party. The party. Woo, 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 woo. Let me double check myself and make sure you for sure can hear me. I do like knowing my audio is working. Yep. Okay. Yeah, we got that reverb in the back, but yep, you guys can hear me and we are live. And welcome in. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. At least in the southwest of the United States. Good morning. I don't know where any of you are at in the world, but I may not have many or much interaction like in the chat room because I am going on pretty late. But right now, this is like it's the perfect time for me to go on. I've just had a very strange schedule. For those of you who follow me on social media, you guys have seen some of the updates I was just posting before I went live. Excuse me. My schedule it's just all over the place right now. But to explain a little bit further, well, you know what, we'll get into that in just a moment. But we kind of want to starting up some see if I can show you guys here. The spoon is really dirty, but can you see it? Can you see it? No, you can just see the dirtiness. Hold on, let me put we'll do this. I have a protein Vega shake right now. It has orange juice. Can you see it? There it is. It looks like green mud. It has orange juice and a protein in there that I've shared on Instagram, and it's really good. It's helped me a lot throughout COVID and having COVID, and yeah, it's helped a lot. But before we dive into everything I just want to cover kind of what are we talking about today? What's going on today? So shifting gears. the main topic I kind of wanted to talk about on this stream, and for this stream for this evening, um, or this morning, is that how things are shifting, how things have been shifting for me, how I have seen and in my community, those of you that follow me on Instagram, that I've noticed making really big shifts, really big leaps. Those who have reached out to me through social media, who are telling me about their shifts, who are telling me about their about what's changing. For those who I have been in contact with through social media, as far as collaborating and the shifts that I'm seeing those who have reached out and I'm collaborating with in their businesses and in what they're doing and with what I'm doing. An example of this off the top of my head is in Facebook. For anyone who has Facebook, I know it's not as preferred of a social media outlet or a platform for those for you Gen Zers out there. But no, I've there's a group that I've evolved on Facebook, and that's a part of some of my shifting going on for myself. But there's a lot of shifting I've noticed going on, and this week especially, but for sure, the past few days for me have been a massive shift. A shift in my schedule, a shift in my energy, a shift in my mental state, a shift in my physical, like my diet, my career path, my like every single thing, every area of my life has completely, it's been making a shift. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So I have a Vega here going. Before we dive into that, though, I want to share a little update about the whole COVID thing. So if you don't mind, throughout, I may be eating or drinking things to kind of keep me going here. But the update I wanted to share about COVID is I'm thankfully doing so much better, and I think those of you who know me and who've been in my community, whether it's socially, like on or like through like social media platforms, or even socially, personably, and like you know me, and we've known each other for a while. You can see it, you can feel it, you can see it in my energy. You can just tell I'm doing a lot better, and it feels good to be feeling better, like so much. I've also been able to tell in my own work, like the artwork that I do and the way I create, like it's just things have evolved, and it's just better. It's just better. It just feels better, and I feel better. One of the things that has persisted, I will say, and that I've noticed persisting, is the headaches. Now, in order to go back into work, so for those who don't know, for those of you who follow me, you've known this for pretty much about a year now. I've worked at Amazon for over a year, at an Amazon warehouse, and to go back into work. So thankfully, when I got COVID, I was out on sick pay for COVID. There is a safety net through Amazon to be able to do that, and I'm very grateful for that, because not every company has that. I mean, we've all kind of discovered throughout this process of the past few years that some companies, some businesses haven't had those safety nets, haven't had those opportunities for employees to, in the instance if they got sick, to really be secure and have a security net underneath them, other than maybe like their general sick pay. But then outside of that, once that's used up, some employees, there's just all kinds of stories that have happened regarding that with companies, and it's gotten better, I think, over the past, now in 2022, I think it's gotten a lot better. I think more companies have jumped on board with, hey, we need to supply something. The government has jumped on board for the most part, and I'm just grateful. I'm grateful I had a security net there. I was a little bit worried about it in the beginning when I got sick with COVID, and it got figured out, and I'm very grateful for that. But um, that uh, yeah, so in order to go back into full time for like to go back into work at Amazon, I had to have no symptoms. That was the main key thing, and the truth that I feel like I can share here and share with the ones I know and share with my community is the reality, and the truth is that I still was having headaches, and I still was having in the morning. I would have like my what is it, like my congestion from my nose, like all the boogers and nasty stuff would come out in the morning, and that would be it, right? But the fatigue went way down. Like it's gone so much farther down, and it's great. It's awesome. But yes, today and the past few days, I have noticed the one persisting symptom seems for me to still be the headaches. That I just have like I'll get like migraine headaches. So it doesn't feel good. It just sucks, and it's just kind of like you can take medicine, you can try to, but they just kind of keep coming back. And I keep thinking, oh, it's done, they're over, but also on top of that, I will say too, it's kind of like I can still feel that I had that. It's like my system and my body and my just just my whole body can feel still. I have this awareness that it can feel like the strength of COVID, of what I went through for a month. Like it's I can still feel it. Like it's a lot of the symptoms are gone. The only one persisting seems to be the headaches, but it's like my body can still feel is still kind of recovering from the whole slew of symptoms that I had. So if that makes sense, it's just like it's kind of like it's not PTS, but I'm saying it's kind of like that, where it's like the after the event happens, the person is still kind of experiencing it, right? But it's not to that severity. I'm just saying, yeah, my body, I can just still feel like where I was before COVID physically, and then where I'm physically at now after it. It's interesting, yeah. So I'm doing much better, and I'm feeling a lot better. And I've been trying to keep my vitamin C levels up and taking my vitamins and nutrients, and just keeping myself going the best I can, and doing what I can to still be safe as best as I can. Yeah, there's not too much more I want to talk about on that today about COVID. I think that's something I can talk about another time too, because I have so many thoughts about it, and I think everyone still does. Everyone has their thoughts and their camps and their sides of it, and um, there's a lot of things I have wanted to talk about and share more about, especially now going through it. But I think right now it's just not the time. I just know I am doing much better, and I'm grateful that I have recovered in the way I have. Oh, and my taste and my smell, for the most part, has come back. It hasn't 100% come back. Soda still tastes like water to me a little bit. Like I can kind of taste it, but it's kind of tastes like water a little bit. Um, Coffee I can taste like fully, and then orange juice I can taste. Like there's a lot of things I can taste now. And then as far as smell goes, there's some things I can't smell fully. But it's definitely coming back, because that's the one that shocked me actually, because there's certain things that I'm like, whoa, there's like smells everywhere. It's like those videos I've seen of on YouTube and stuff, where it's like deaf people hear for the first time, or um, blind people see colors for the first time. It's like smelling for the first time. You're just like, what the hell is that? What am I smelling? What is that delicious smell, right? So yeah, it's really awesome. I'm very grateful. So moving forward, moving past the COVID stuff, I'm grateful to be doing better, and thank you all for your support during that time. It has meant the world. It's seriously, you don't understand. It has meant everything to mentally just keep going through that. Seriously, thank you guys so much, and for all the presents. Also, FP, FP, if you ever see this, I'm telling you, I didn't text you back personally, but thank you so much. FP, for those who don't know, has been a massive supporter of what I've done, and FP, you're amazing. And he loaned me season 5 of Rick and Morty, and I hadn't seen it up until that point. So during COVID, I got to watch season 5 of Rick and Morty on FP for free, and like didn't have to pay for the service or anything. It was awesome. I loved it. I watched it in 2 days because I had to take a break, and I just was sleeping so much too. But yeah, it was great. Thank you so much. That was a great present. It was like a birthday present too. Basically, it was awesome. So thank you, thank you. But moving forward, talking about what we were discussing for the evening, which is shifting gears, shift in our lives, just shifts and shifting and shiftaroos, shiftaroos. So shifting. Why are we talking about shifting? So we're talking about shifting because, yes, as I was saying at the very beginning of jumping on live, is I've noticed a lot of shifts. I've noticed a lot of it happening. I think it's the time, it's the season. I know it's a new year, and generally in the new year, even despite what has happened globally with COVID and like politics globally and just everything, it never doesn't. It still works. There's still resolutions. There's still things people want to change, and they want to shift, and they want to go anew, and they want to try this and that. And so let's jump, or I'm going to read it. I won't. I won't jump over to it, but I'll just read it aloud. So I want to just pull this up, and I don't know what it says. I don't know the definition. But I was just curious before I jumped on, because we're in the new year and it has been talked about, and I've seen it a few times. I was sick for most of the new year, right, with COVID, so like I didn't see a whole bunch of people's new year resolutions, but I wanted to read a definition of resolution, which is a firm decision, according to Google, a firm decision to do or not to do something. She kept her resolution not to see Anne anymore. That chick was done with Anne, basically. Or the quality of being determined or resolute. So he handled the last French actions of the war with resolution. With resolution, Napoleon. So it's to do or to not do. To be or to not be. We're getting into theater here. But yeah, it's to do or not do, to be determined to do something, making a resolute action. You're like, I'm absolutely going to do this. This is what I'm going to do. Nobody's going to stop me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. So it's making an affirmative action. You're saying, hey, look, I want to do this. I'm going to do this. Let me add in the background. We're going to add some music as I'm talking here. There we go. I think you guys can hear that a little bit. But yeah, okay. So I'm going to continue talking here about the resolutions and shifting, and why are there so many shifts happening right now? Why is that happening? Is it happening for you guys out there? Have you guys noticed shifting happening in your lives? And you don't have to answer this at all. Whenever you guys see this video, you can answer that for yourselves, But so a reason why I wanted to bring up shifts today, I'll go in that direction with it, is basically, yes, we're in the new year. We're almost at the end of January. It's been a strange new year for me. I don't know about you out there. Maybe there's a few people I've seen on my social media feeds that just fortunately never got sick from COVID going into the new year. They were fine, and they had a very typical New Year's resolutions and celebrating the new year and just seems like it's all good and gravy and they're just kind of going into their 2022. For me, it was a lot different. It's been a very strange start to the new year. Like I said, I was sick for going into the new year, for my birthday, for like all this stuff. I've just started to feel better. While we went into the new year, my main resolution, if you will, my main to do was to get better. That was my main number one, was to be healthier, to just get healthy and beat COVID. That was my main go. And here we are. I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like I have beaten COVID. I feel like I'm still getting to 100%. I feel like I'm in that 99.8, 99.9, So, but yeah, that's been my main to go. And I've kind of just pushed everything else out and said, you know what, I need to focus on my health. And this is an opportunity to just work in that direction and work on that for myself. And a resolution, by the way, I think why they can be so intimidating and so overwhelming, and why people give up so many times on resolutions. Just a thought is that we plan them for the year. Usually resolutions, at least in America, are thought out to be, or at least the people I've been around are like, oh, what's your resolution for the new year? For the new year, for a whole freaking year. That's overwhelming. That's a lot. It's a lot to say, hey, I'm going to do all of this in a year. I think there's the reverse psychology behind it of, if I give myself the year to do it, I give myself more time to get it done, and it'll be done and I'll have completed it within a year's time. That's more than enough time. When in fact, completing a resolution, it's like a goal in many ways, even though that sounds kind of boring to some of you. You're like, oh my God, are we in school? Are we talking about goals right now? No, we're not going to talk about goals right now, but I'm saying it can be like a goal in many ways. It can be a shift. It can be here's my plan. This is what I want to do. This is what I envision. This is what I see for myself. This is what I'd like to do. This is where I'd like to be. One of those kind of thoughts that generally kicks it off, and then putting a timeline to it. Most coaches that I've been coached from, or mentors or teachers or professors, the work comes in putting the timeline to it. So you can have the thought, you can have all those things, the thought of that where it starts, that's the seed being planted. Then it turning into and flourishing into this beautiful plant or this beautiful tree is carrying that action out, whether it's day after day, whether it's week after week, whether it's month after month. So I think that's why at least here in the United States, it's generally thought out to be a year, your resolution for the new year, which can get overwhelming. That's like so much. It's so much to be like, oh my God, I want to, and usually we have a list. Oh, I want to do this, and this or that, and it's like, the older I have gotten, the more I've seen that those lists shrink for many, where it's like just one thing they want to change or do different, or maybe two things they want to do different in the new year, and something that's maybe doesn't take as much effort to do, or that we kind of already know we can do. So like we've already mentally done it and we're going to do it. So it's like we're not letting ourselves down, right? So we think we're setting ourselves up for success, and we're going to just like, oh yeah, I did it. But it's not really like a really massive effort to have gotten it done, if that makes sense. So I'm saying all this because a New Year's resolution, a shift, a goal, it doesn't have to be for a year's timeline. Like, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It doesn't have to be like, oh my God, I'm going to do all of these things in the new year. It's going to be like 10 things, and there's like, oh my God, it's going to change my whole life. It's like, it doesn't have to be that. We get caught up in that though, to impress others, to try to impress ourselves, to stroke our egos and look good for others and be like, oh, well, look at what I'm doing over here. Look at what I'm doing. And it's like, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. It can be a lot of pressure. And some people like that pressure. Some people do. Some people function in that pressure. I don't know how. I used to be, well, I do. I used to, I used to be one of those people. And I say it can be overwhelming. To me, it became overwhelming. And it may not be for you. It may not be overwhelming at all. There are very strong fire signs out there in the world that I know a good handful of them, that is not overwhelming. That it is they're very set on doing those kinds of things every year, and it's like traditions to them. New Year's resolution is mostly a tradition here, at least here in the US, but I'm saying it's like they have to do those, or they're not, or there's like they have no purpose kind of thing. And I have come to a spot in my life where I think and I feel and I strive to be in ways an example in the world for others that you don't have to. You don't have to. Your whole life's purpose doesn't have to be created through things like something as simple as a New Year's resolution, or whether you did it or didn't do it. I am not saying, don't mistake this, I'm not saying to not try and not have goals and not have resolutions ever in your life. I'm saying that it's okay to not like feel the weight and pressure of those things. Matter of fact, it's okay even if you create those things and you believe in those. It's okay if you didn't complete it. What's wrong with that? Like, you become a better person. You see now what you have to do, or what you have to change, or what you have to shift to maybe now complete it, to maybe now follow through with it. And maybe you have more information through that. Maybe you gain more information to now, as to kind of gauge, did you really want that? Now, with what you've gone there, did you actually really want that resolution? Did that make you actually feel any better? Did it really change who you are? These are just thoughts. They're just thoughts. They're thoughts from my own experiences. They're thoughts from witnessing others' experiences of shifts, of resolutions, of goals, right? So completing and not completing those. Following through and not following through. Succeeding on those or not succeeding on those. So I'm sharing this because going back to shift your booty. I feel a little bit goofy. I feel good because by the way, because I think I kind of shared this in the beginning. I didn't expand on it. I started a new job today, and I went through an orientation, and I'm adding it to the work that I'm doing over at Amazon. So, a whole new opportunity. It's a massive shift, and it's going into exactly what we're talking about, shifts. But it's been a massive shift. It's something that I never thought I'd be where I'm at with this job. And it's taken an adjustment and a shift on my part, and that's life. Sometimes it's like it's it's kind of, I guess I'm having a hard time finding the words for it. It's like well, you know what? We'll come back to that. I'll just kind of tag that. Basically, yeah, I've had a major shift, especially today, that has really shifted my schedule as well. But the past few days has really shifted my schedule, and so that's why we're on when we are right now. And I'm just doing things when I can and as I can right now, and going with the shift. Whereas before in my life, I used to resist those shifts. Resist in the sense of, if it wasn't in my timing, if I didn't have control over that timing, then I would postpone it. I would not want it to happen. I'd want it to happen in my perfect timing. That kind of gripping, that control, my ego just being like, I have to control this. And through the trainings I've done, through the coaching I've done, through the coaching that has been done on me, that I like that I've received, through the counseling I've done, through therapy that I've done, through life experiences, I have learned to let go of that grip, to trust, to create more trust in the universe, to create more trust in myself that things are, and this is a mantra, if you will, that I began to carry and I still carry with me, and I've carried it for many years and it's kept me going for so long. It's one of the many that I have for myself, but everything happens in perfect timing for me. Everything happens in perfect timing for me. Everything is happening in perfect timing. Everything in my life is happening in perfect timing. So if everything in my life is happening in perfect timing, then if a shift is happening, it's happening at the perfect time. So go with it. So that's why it's like, before, if this like what's happened in the past few days, how rapidly my schedule has shifted. In the past, if that were to happen to me, like years and years ago, I would get so much anxiety and I'd freak out. My anxiety would go through the roof, and I'd be like, oh my God, like I'm not, I'm not ready. I have to have all this ready to be ready for the shift. And it's like, let go. Just let go and allow that shift to happen. It sounds like allow that shit to happen, right? It's kind of sounds the same, yeah? Allow that shit to happen. Allow the shift to happen. And you can let go and just be. And I've found in my own life, as you do that more and more and practice that, and I still will say, I have my moments and my times where I try to grip, control, grip, control, and sometimes it feels like it's working, and really I think deep down I know that it's just a reminder when I'm gripping and trying to control, to let go and to trust. And it can be hard. It can be really hard sometimes. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it can be a practice to just let go and allow it to happen and allow ourselves to go with it. And when I've done that and when I've experienced that in my life, it has served me tenfold. It has served me so well. And I just, it's just been great. So we're going to kind of backtrack here. I'm just sharing that little kind of bit on my own personal shifting experience currently. Right now that's happening, I'm having to let go. I'm finding myself having to let go and say, okay, today there was a few things that kind of came up. It was my first day on the job, so we were in an orientation. There's a few things that came up for Amazon, and I was like, oh shit, I have to schedule a shift later in the week for Amazon to stay active as an employee because of a new rule they created. And I'm like trying to control, and I was stressing and just like, oh, I have to, no. And what do you know? Later in my day, it worked itself out. It literally worked itself out. I didn't even have to work it out. It just worked itself out. A shift popped up when I needed it to, on the day I needed it to, on the time, and there it was, and it worked, And by the way, sometimes it doesn't happen like that. Sometimes we let go and it doesn't happen. Like the thing that we're like, oh, I need this to happen this way. Sometimes it doesn't. Even when we've let go, even when we're just like, okay, I let go and I'm doing what I think is the right thing to be doing in the universe, and I think it's to let go. And if it doesn't happen, even when we do release and let go, then maybe that's just what it's supposed to be. Maybe it really is supposed to be that. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know. it's just information, and it's just kind of feedback, and it's an examination of ourselves. It can be an internal look of ourselves too, or a reflection of ourselves. It could have just been to practice or a reminder to let go. So let's transition into as far as shifting goes. I'm also bringing this up not just because I've had a major shift in my life in the past month, in the past few weeks, in the past few days. And today, my whole schedule shifted today, and it threw me off. It threw everything off, and I can be a very grounded person, which is why wanting to control things can be more in my nature when I've learned to let go, and when letting go, I can still manage things. It's been a shift in my life. It's been a shift in my thoughts. It's been a shift in my perception, is I can let go and still manage things. And like I said, even if it doesn't happen the way I don't want it to, well, I can still manage my reactions. I can still manage how I decide to go forward from there, right? So I also had this experience today that was really neat, that I wanted to share, and it's something that I put a little bit of thought into it, enough to share what I'm about to share with you. And I'm really excited to share this, and I'm a little bit nervous because this has been a shift that has been happening for years. It'd now be going on 8 years. 8 years ago for me. And you could even say almost a decade, actually. Yeah, like 2014 to 2012. Anywhere in that time frame. And I know those dates so well because of what I'm about to share with you. And I've shared this quite a few times in different ways, and it comes out different every time I share it, I guess. But it came up again today, and I was like, hey, you know what? This is a really good look and a good a good observation of, again, how far I've come for myself, and to look at that again, and also to look at the different stories that I had created in those times. So what I'm going to share is I'm going to well, let's do it like this. You know what? I'll show you guys. Let me pull it up real quick, and then I'll shift over the screen. A group I joined today. So the reason why I'm also talking about shift is because not only is it so super relevant in my life right now, and it's just and I'm noticing it in a lot of places for a lot of people right now. But let's see, can I find it on here? So I just joined a group, and I found it on Instagram. Let me see what it's called. I had it on... Oh, where did it go? Let's see here. It was a... here we go. Ultimate Breakthrough. Okay, here we go. So let me shift over my screen. So here we go. This right here, as you can see, is a Facebook group. If you guys don't follow me on Facebook, by the way, go ahead and check me out on Facebook at Nomad Zen. But this right here, it's a Tony Robbins Ultimate Breakthrough 2022 Challenge. And it's from January 25th to the 29th. Now, really, I think he's doing these he's doing these all the time. This is just the one he's doing right now. And this is it's a private Facebook group created by Tony Robbins and his team, actually. But so it's a little private community group that you guys are getting special access to right now. I'm just kind of showing you guys. But I literally just joined this evening. It is not at all like I have been looking at this. But basically, I'm just going to kind of scroll down here. You guys can see New Story Challenge. Here, I'll highlight it right here. The New Story Challenge. And this is happening for day one. So yesterday was day one. and it's happening. New story challenge. New story challenge. Everybody's posting their new story challenge. So you see they have a video and they have their new story challenge. And some people I've noticed as I was looking at this earlier have gone live on theirs. Some people have pre-recorded theirs. Basically though, all of these people in this private group have joined up and are sharing their new stories. So what is the new story challenge? So that's the question. So let's flip back over here. So what is the new story challenge? And I'm going to go ahead and I want to record this part of the conversation. So let's do this. I'm going to click record. And I don't know how long it's going to record me, but we're just going to go with it and see what my computer decides to do. So anyways, what is the new story the new story challenge? So I have some notes here on it that I kind of just want to look at to keep myself on track here. But basically what this is, I'm gonna verbally tell you guys it, and then I think I can just share my screen afterwards and kind of give you guys a little bit of a visual of kind of what I'm talking about here. So if you guys can imagine, let's just say the words were right here, old story. So here's your old story, and then the words right here, new story. Here's your new story, right? So just imagine, close your eyes if you have to. Let's use our imaginations. Old story, new story. So the new story challenge in this private group that I just joined, I found it through Instagram. It was like it just popped up, and I was like, I had checked it out a few times. I'm like, I imagine they're trying to get people to pay for this stuff, right? But this private group is dedicated to basically the people who are not paying for the VIP experience for Tony Robbins. For those of you who know Tony Robbins, it's very in depth. He goes very, very in depth. He has a very extensive program. If you don't know who Tony Robbins is, just Google him, YouTube him. Actually, that's a better way, I think, to know who he is. It's kind of hard not to know who he is. Tony Robbins started out as one of my early on first self-help people. He was one of the people that was really, he helped me mentally through so many of the challenges in my life early on. When I really started getting into self-help books, Louise Hay was my first one. Tony Robbins was soon after that. A little bit in my journey soon after that, and I had really gotten into him. And then his predecessor, Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins learned from Jim Rohn how to do kind of, how to be a communicator, how to motivate people and help them in their businesses and all these things, right? If you don't know who Jim Rohn is, go ahead and look up Jim Rohn. I highly recommend that one. Jim Rohn is a huge influence and inspiration on me. But once again, these were early influences and inspirations. And I still love Tony Robbins, still love Jim Rohn. Now in my life, I don't find myself as much watching or getting into what they're doing. This had just popped up. I do follow him on Instagram on my main account, and it had just popped up, and I was like, I should check this out. I've always wanted to do one of these things for Tony Robbins. I've seen him do a bunch of them, and so I just decided to do this group one where instead of paying the $1,000 or whatever for the VIP experience to be with him on Zoom basically and chat with him personally, I just did this private group one. And so going back to the old story versus the new story. So if you can imagine just those two, right, for yourself. So this challenge, I joined the group today, and this is the first. I didn't get to watch the video yet of the day one introduction that he does. It's a pre-recorded video, but I did see. I was just scrolling through the page, and this is for day one. The homework was to share your old story and your new story. So the new story challenge. So what is that? Basically what it is kind of like I'm saying, it's sharing what was your old story. And now, right now, what is your new story? So I'm going to explain that further through what I'm about to share with my own personal old story, new story. I'm a little bit nervous because I've shared these things before in many ways over the content I've made over the past few years. But it's vulnerable. It's a lot. Yeah. So pardon me if I get deep in my feelings, but also, well, I don't know. I guess I don't need to pardon myself, but I don't know. It's just an awkward feeling. I was watching some of them earlier. I'm saying this because I was watching some of them, and some of the people got really emotional, and they made me emotional, and they got me in my feels, and I'm like, whoa! I did not expect that. I didn't expect it at all, but it helped. It helped me to kind of dive a little bit deeper into what I was sharing. So, anyways, here we go. So the old story. So this was very quick. I hadn't had a lot of time to really think about it. I had just watched like 5 videos, and I kind of scrolled through the page and just had some ideas before I went on, right? So I wanted to focus it around one main thing, an event that happened to me. But anyways, enough explaining my old story. My old story is that I'm not good enough because I hurt the ones I love. My old story was I was not good enough because I ended up hurting the ones that I loved the most. My old stories were, or one of my old stories was I wasn't smart enough because I dropped out of college, because I flunked out and I couldn't handle it, which leads into the third one that I came up with, which is one of my old stories is I can't do this or I can't do that because I failed in the past, because I failed. So just kind of let that sink in a little bit. I'm going to say them again one more time. And as I'm saying this, if you have some of your own thoughts that come up and you're like, oh yeah, that really is bringing some stuff up, then maybe think about that a little more. Not too deeply, but just let it take you where it needs to. So one more time, my old stories. These are some old stories that kind of came up through what I had watched of other people's videos. I'm not good enough because I hurt the ones I loved. I'm not smart enough because I dropped out of college. And I can't do this, or I can't do that, or I can't do because I failed in the past. And now I'm going to share my new stories. With that being said, I am good enough because I worked on myself and I grew. I am smart enough because I enrolled into another college after dropping out, and I graduated school. I graduated college. And I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do because I proved it to myself by living in my car. By living in my car for a year, I proved it to myself. So I'll share those one more time, just so we're kind of all clear and all on the same page. I am good enough because I worked on myself and I grew. I am smart enough because I went back to college and I graduated and received a degree. And I can do this and I can do that and I can do because I proved it to myself by living out of my car. So that right there is that's the old story and the new story. And so this was a challenge that they had on that group page that I didn't get the chance to share, but I'm recording this because I wanted to go ahead and I may end up editing it a little bit later, but I wanted to record it because I wanted to share it later on the Tony Robbins page. And I was going to do it live, and I was like, I kind of want to put a little bit of thought into it because I didn't quite know. I had a bunch of thoughts come up, and and I had kind of found all of them tracing back to this one major event in my life. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that now, which some of you have heard this, but yeah, so I, like I said, almost 8 years ago to a decade ago, I attended the I attended Northern Arizona University. I attended a university. I was the first person in my family to attend a university. My oldest sister, she had gotten, I think she got a scholarship to U of A, and thank God she didn't go to U of A. But I'm sharing this because she was the first person that got offered to college, and she ended up turning it down and had a kid and had a relationship and had all these other things going on in her life that didn't really invite, like college just kind of just went out of the picture, and financially as well. I think she wasn't sure if she could have done it too, so it kind of just got pushed on the back burner. And then so my mom, I remember, so I was really involved in sports in high school and middle school and all that, and I had really focused a lot of my energy and time around receiving a scholarship through sports, and I put a ton of time and a ton of energy. I put pretty much all of my time and energy outside of like my personal life to do that and to be that and to just focus on that. And I was focused on academics, but it was more about the academics for the sport. It wasn't really the other way around. It wasn't really like I'm focused on the academics for the academics. So I transitioned into, so I went to community college. I did that for a year. Well, got a concussion. I stopped playing sports. I tried the whole pathway of getting a scholarship to go play sports. Got the concussion. I lost my passion. I lost the fire. I just lost it. I just did not have it in me anymore to do it. And I had actually gotten a scholarship offer to a writing school. So academically, my backup was from high school to college was being a journalist. And I was really into writing, and I love it. To this day, I still love writing. I love it. It's fun. I love it. And I got offered a scholarship to a college in San Francisco, and I was a little bit freaked out, and I didn't know how to. I didn't know. I was young, and I was a little bit afraid, and I didn't know if I could have done it. And so one of the stories then was, I don't know if I can do it, which goes with, I think I wrote one of them, I can't do this and I can't do that, right? So it was kind of that story. I can't do this. I don't know if I could do this, right? I don't know. Well, I ended up not doing that, and instead I chose a safer route. And so what I did was I decided to sign up for community college. It was more affordable and it was safer. It was predictable. So I did a year of community college, and I did a lot of my basic courses, and I hated it. I couldn't stand it. I just got so bored. I felt so bored of it. And I loved learning, and I loved a lot of the classes I was taking, but I just got bored of the atmosphere. I got bored of I just didn't really know where I was going. I just was very I don't know. I just felt lost. I just kind of just didn't know where I was going. So I thought that I would wanted to go. A few events had happened, and a few things had happened, and I kind of started gearing my mind towards what if I went to a university. So fast forwarding, I ended up going to NAU, to Northern Arizona University, and well, when I was up there, I did really well looking back. Yeah, my first semester, my first year, I managed fairly well, and it was a very challenging experience to adapt to because I was in a foreign place. I didn't really know a lot of people. I was isolated a lot of the time. So I didn't have a car when I was up there, and a lot of my friends and just students in general would leave during the holiday seasons, and they'd go back home, and I'd be up there. And so the first year I was up there, first semester I was up there, I didn't have a job, and then what I would do is I would end up getting, I would either take the shuttle or I'd get a ride back down to the valley. After the first semester, I think is what it was. I can't remember, but basically I would have a seasonal job where I'd come down, I'd do work for a few months, and then go back up when classes started again, right? And that was kind of how I got a little bit of money in my pocket. But I did that for a year, and after the first year, I just kind of kept on that plan and was like, all right, this is what I think I want to do. So I got interested when I was up there, I had kept asking myself, what do I want to do? This is the time to really figure out, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? How do I want to build the foundation of my life? What do I want to do? What do I see myself doing? And it was the first time in my life ever that I felt like I had gotten to make that decision. That I felt like I wasn't making that decision out of others' interests. I was not making that decision out of anybody else's interest other than mine. And so I had just looked around at different things and was kind of looking, what am I interested in here at school? And I just did a lot of my basic courses still up there and was kind of looking around. Oh, that's what it was too. I did, because I was in Flagstaff, I took some of the forestry courses, and I had kind of liked what was going on there. I was like, okay, this is kind of in a direction. We're going somewhere with this. Well, it led me to anthropology, and I began studying anthropology, and I got really hooked on studying anthropology. It was just so much fun. I got really into archaeology. I was in the social behavioral sciences building most of my day, and I just got really stoked about it. And it was something that was just me. It was me through and through. Like, I love journalism, I love writing, but I decided to take it a different direction. And I saw the journalism in anthropology. I saw the ability to be able to do research on different sites, so anthropology, the study of humans throughout history and time, right? So there was the ability there to basically do research and write reports and write a thesis and develop thesis, however you want to say that. But to get to work in a scientific way and kind of also bring some of those skills of writing into that, which was fun and exciting. It was new, and it was fun, and the pathway I had kind of paved for myself was where I was aiming with that was to basically get contracted by the government with a bachelor's of science degree in anthropology, just with that to get contracted by the government to go survey land. And that's really the aim I started working for, because I was like, I love being outdoors. I love doing this kind of work. I'd love to get my hands dirty and get in the dirt and do all that. It's perfect, right? Like, fits me perfectly. Well, I was working in that direction, and life happened. And it threw me in a completely different direction. So going back to the topic of the evening, shifting gears. about 2 years into studying at NAU and living up there and like really developing my life up there and thinking I'm like on one path, a massive shift happened in my life and I just started down this whole different pathway. And it changed the trajectory of my life. Incredibly. I went from thinking I had everything figured out kind of in my life to just being totally lost again and on a path that I couldn't really see where I was going. That's how it felt most of the time. I couldn't see, like I just couldn't see like where is this ending? When is this gonna end? And so what had happened was the life that had happened was, well, it was life. I got really stressed out. So near the end of pretty much before I dropped out of college, I got really stressed out. I dropped out of the university. I was having massive amounts of anxiety. I was overworking myself. I was a lot of these things kind of combined together, and I got really, really deeply depressed. I got super depressed, and I just didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't know how to manage that. I had never in my life experienced anything like that to that point. So I had no skills on how to help myself. I had no skills on who to reach out to, who to feel comfortable to talk to about it, who to I didn't even feel comfortable to tell my own parents. I had a grudge against my parents. I had a grudge against a lot of my family at the time, and I didn't know who to trust and tell. And the one person that I entrusted to tell and share with some of it, and even not all of it, was a girlfriend I had at the time. And she was like the closest person I had. And fast forwarding a little bit, what had ended up happening is my aunt had become aware. I had gone down a few times in this time period, like back down to the valley. My aunt had become aware that I had been struggling mentally and just was having a hard time. My older sister and my aunt are very close. My older sister, I ended up letting her know, and I had become aware. And I had an episode. I had a mental breakdown. I lost it. I found myself drinking a lot. I used to, throughout college, I would go to kickbacks, I would go to parties, in community college and university. But I was able to manage it to where it was just kind of extracurricular fun. It was like college. It was like, I'd do my studies and do all that, and then on the weekends I'd go and have a good time with some buddies and go have some drinks and maybe go to some parties, and then come back and go back to studies, and go back to school and focus on my core work that needs to be done. And what I found myself starting to do was I was getting so overwhelmed with everything. I was working, my schedule was just, it was like I would literally I created my schedule to where I would literally have 4 hours of sleep and then get up and just have to go, and be on my feet constantly, which is no wonder why I got stressed out, which is no wonder why I got so much anxiety. It's no wonder why I just couldn't handle it, is because I actually overworked myself. I overworked the shit out of myself. And I didn't know how to kind of slow down because I just was trying to do what I thought was the right thing. I was trying to do what I thought was creating a future and creating a pathway to a future that I saw, that was rewarding, that was exciting, that was what I thought I wanted and where I thought I was going. And like I said, life happened and I didn't know how to manage these things. I started drinking a lot more. I just got really, it didn't help with the depression. alcohol is a depressant. It made me super depressed, even more. Like, I was already depressed, and it just took me in deeper. And thankfully, I didn't find that I didn't come out, and I don't feel like I do anymore. But I didn't have an issue with alcohol. I haven't had an issue with it. I can enjoy alcohol now and feel fine, and manage myself so much better, and I have those skills now. But I am saying, like, I just was, how do I say this? It's like I was intellectually, I knew turning to alcohol was not the answer, and yet at the time I just was so done and felt so exhausted, and just kind of just stopped caring about what I was doing, and just felt like everything was kind of crumbling and not going the way I wanted it to. And so I turned to drinking, and I knew it wasn't the right thing to do. Fortunately, I had a very, 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 very good roommate at that time, and he had actually, I guess my aunt had gotten his number. They had actually exchanged numbers without me even knowing, I think, and she had called him because I wasn't answering her phone calls. And basically, it's not something I'm proud of, but I had suicidal ideations. Looking back, this is why, it's a little bit hard, but that was an old story, literally, that I'm telling you, but also there was a lot of ideas that came out of that old story, a lot of thoughts that came out of that old story, that I'm not good enough because I hurt the ones I loved around me. Because when I got really sad and really depressed, I got really angry. So I thought, I'll put it this way, I thought, and others around me thought, that I tried to commit suicide. And really, did I want to die at the time? Yes. Did I really want to die? No. I just hurt. I hurt a lot, and I was just tired. I was just tired of the way things had gone in my life. I was tired of feeling like a failure. I was tired of feeling like I couldn't accomplish what I wanted to, and like I was always like right there about to get it, and it just wouldn't work the way I wanted it to. And that was that control I talked about, a lot of control of like, it's not working the way I want it to, right? And learning to let go of that. It created a story later on, after college, after university, that I'm not smart enough because I dropped out of college. And I would use that as kind of a defense mechanism, and I found myself doing it a number of times. And I've had friends and family who have been great mirrors in that, and kind of showing me, I've carried that, so I really, what I think it was, is I had suicidal ideations. I had thought and contemplated about killing myself because I was so sad. I was so miserable. I was so anxiety prone. I was so strung out on anxiety because I wasn't sleeping. I definitely was not eating healthy at all. My diet was like basically caffeine and sugar most of the time to just manage, to just get by, I wasn't being physically as active. I felt lonely most of the time. I didn't really have much of a social life, and I had actually created for those who don't know, I created a fraternity. I started a fraternity at the university, and it was a fraternity for guys, ironically enough, who were the ones who didn't get chosen in fraternities, who were the kind of the outcasts, and the ones that the fraternities would be like, yo, we don't want you. You don't fit this, So I helped start that. I was a secretary of a fraternity that I helped start, and that was what I would kind of, I would try to have that as a social life, but it really was difficult for me to kind of try to fit in with even some of those guys, you know, and I would never tell them. A lot of them were younger than me too, and I wanted to kind of be a good influence on them and let them know like what is possible and the many things you can do and create for yourself, right? And yeah, it created all these stories. It created all these old stories that took me a lot of time, years of time, therapy, counseling, coaching, mentoring, like being in a lot of places that I didn't want to be, but looking back were the best places I could have been. And I kind of want to just like, I'm kind of mad at saying that, because I'm not mad, but I'm just kind of like, because years ago, people would say that to me. Like when I was in the middle of it, when I was in the middle of that and that was all happening like a decade ago, like a lifetime ago is what it feels like now. People would say that to me. Oh, you're going to look back on this and you're going to be like, that was the greatest thing that ever happened. I was like, you're full of shit. You're full of shit. There's no way. There's no way that it's great. I would never want that to happen to anybody, or anybody to go through what I went through. And here we are, you know. I am beyond grateful. That transformed my life in ways that I thought as the years went by, I thought I would see that, you know, like see how it did, and it just has had such a massive impact on how it's transformed my life. And I created these stories as well it's one of the ones I wrote that I hurt the ones I love around me. I got really angry when I had basically gotten to this point where a roommate had reached out or something. My aunt and my roommate were talking. They had helped me at the perfect time. I had an episode. I was drinking a lot. I had a lot of alcohol, and I was drinking and drinking and drinking. I just wanted to hurt myself because I felt so much pain, and I didn't want to feel pain anymore. And I felt really sad, and I was just in a dark spot. And he saved me. My aunt saved me. My roommate saved me. My sister, my oldest sister, they saved me. You know, and from that point forward, it was a very strange, long, windy, emotional road. It was just like, it was bumpy. It was very bumpy. And I could not have predicted how it was going to go from that point. But I was really embarrassed. And even to this day, like, I've reached out to him a few times, my roommate, and it's still awkward. You know, it's still that awkward feeling of like, I used to live with you and I had an episode like that with you, and I didn't mean to do that, but I just was at a point in my life where things were shit and it felt like shit for me. And so I went through that experience, and that really transformed a lot of the ideas that I created in my head about myself, and about the stories that I had in my head about myself, and about how others may have looked at me or perceived me, and how I perceive myself. So when I saw this challenge today, I was like, oh, this is all threading back to this time in my life when I didn't believe that it was possible to get out of that, because it didn't feel like it. It felt very hard a lot of the time. A lot of the people that tried to help me in my family, you know, my friends, even my girlfriend at the time, like, they had tried to help me in different ways, and it didn't. It helped, but it was like inside of me, there was this feeling that even though these people were doing all these things for me and trying to help me, something wasn't changing on the inside, and something was missing, and I had to do a lot of work around that, and I had to piece that back together. And so I had felt like I had hurt the ones I loved, because I had also felt like the ones I loved were leaving me, and kind of leaving me dry, and leaving me like, figure it out, or you're gonna have to figure it out yourself, kind of. And we don't know how else to help you, because we, other than typical cliches of just like a conversation and, oh, there you go, like that's it, and but it was deeper than that. And I had felt something on the inside that it was like, truthfully, it was like my soul was dying. It was like my soul died. For those of you spiritual junkies out there who follow along, you might say, well, you had a dark night of the soul. You might say something along those lines, right? Something similar to that. And I would agree with you. I think it was something like that. It was something. And I felt it. I felt it on the inside. And just like, it was like a part of me had died. And I didn't know what to do, and I had just become so lost. And it was a long road. It was a long, long road, and it's gotten me to this point. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. It's taught me a lot, and it has shaped so much of my life in ways, like I said, that I just would have never imagined at that time. And so going back into the conversation for the evening, why am I sharing all this? Because that point in my life created there was a shift at that point in my life, and it felt like it was a shift for like all the wrong reasons. It felt like it was a shift in my life that I didn't want, that I was like, this sucks. Why is this happening? It was one of those, like, if you ever find yourself like, why God? Like, if God is your person, or why whoever your person is, or why universe, that's like the one why universe? Like, why is this happening to me? Why am I going through this? And that's our egos a bit too, stepping in and saying, why me? Why? But it created all these stories and events like that, life events that we go through can create different stories in our heads about ourselves. And we can carry those stories or those thoughts. And sometimes we don't realize how far we have carried that, or maybe why we do things a certain way, until somebody brings it to our attention. And then we realize, hey, where did that come from? Why do I do it like that? What was the story we created? So it's 3:33 right now. For all you spiritual junkie people out there, by the way. I just looked at that just now, which is really cool. 333. 333. 333. 333. 333. So, yeah, I'm sharing this because going back into the shifts of our lives, and the shifts that are happening recently, that you may be experiencing listening to this, that may be happening around you. Maybe you're right on the cusp of it and you're about to start experiencing those shifts. If you aren't while watching this video, but it was these stories that I had that are now, looking back, old stories and old programs and old thoughts that through all that windy road getting me to this point now, right now, sharing this with you and having the confidence to share this with you and having the neutrality to be able to share it with you, the focus to be able to share it with you, the groundedness to be able to share it with you, has gotten me to a point where I'm now able to look at the new stories that I've created for myself from that experience of, I am good enough, I am smart enough, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do what I put my mind to. I'm good enough because I worked on myself. And it took me many, many years yet I grew. And I decided, and I didn't always decide. There was days where definitely years too, where I did not decide to grow, where I sat in it and I blamed everybody. And I pointed the finger and said, it's your guys' fault. And it's because of this why I'm like this, and it's because of that why I'm like that. Which is not a fun place to be. It's a shitty place to be. It sucks. And it took quite many years, and my oldest sister to look me in the face and tell me, you can't blame anybody anymore. You can't blame anybody anymore. You got to look at yourself. Look at what you're doing to yourself. Look at you. Look at yourself in the mirror. It's not working anymore. You blamed everybody. There's nobody else to blame but yourself. So thank you, big sis. I do appreciate that. It changed my life. It changed my life. A lot of people have changed my life, and I'm very grateful for it. It was through all of this that I was able to change these stories to, well, I am good enough, because I worked on myself, even when there was times when I didn't want to, and years, literally years, where I just was like, no, I'm not going to do that, and I don't need that, and blah, blah, blah. This is why I don't need to do that. And eventually, I worked on myself and I grew. And I decided to change and grow. And I decided to change the story, change the thought, change the program. And I am smart enough, because I enrolled in school years later. I said, you know what? And that was also another big part to my big sister, my oldest sister. She encouraged me. She was a real big part of my healing process, and of what you guys see today, of how I'm able to even do this today. She's a huge part of it. And there's many people, by the way, that I can thank for that. There's literally a handful of people that fit in that category. Because she's family as well, I think she's definitely higher on that list. But I enrolled. I re-enrolled in school after years of just feeling like shit and being totally lost, and working on myself and learning more about myself, and doing the counseling and the therapy and the coaching and all of that. And I graduated. I received a degree. It's not an associate's degree, but it's a vocational degree. But I received a degree in mind body wellness, and it was really exciting. It was super exciting. So I'm smart enough, because I enrolled and I graduated school, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do what I put my mind to, because I lived out of my car. I put that in there just because that was more recently, and I kind of tied it to more recently. I was like, oh duh, yeah, remember I lived in my car for a year? Yeah. But seriously, that experience in its own really helped me also to there were so many skills and things that I pulled out of that experience alone, and I could talk for days about that. But I remember transitioning from, and when I was sharing videos on Instagram of transitioning from going from the car to where I'm at now at my cousin's, and living here, but that amount of confidence, over the years, the different coaching and therapy and all this stuff was growing my confidence, and then doing that was just boom, it just put it through the roof. And I'm like, okay, all right, universe, I hear you. I can do it. If I put my mind to it, I can do it, because the things I learned doing that took a lot of self-reliance, resiliency. It took a lot of strength. It took a lot of shifting my mind, shifting my mentality to be I don't know if I can do this, to I can do this. Let's go do this. Let's go get this done. And it just created this in my life where it's like, go, just do it, just go for it and try it. And it created a confidence of this whole, that's why when I say succeeding or failure, I quote that, because I don't think they really are. I don't really look at it as success or failure. I look at it, I think, more along the lines of attempting, like trying, and trying, not trying, but also like, how do I say it? Like, I don't think people really are failing. I think that's just that's something that we put on ourselves that can be really harsh and really hard. It can feel like we have failed in life at times, but we are not really failing. We're just trying things, and it may not work the way we want to, and we're gripping on that sometimes of like, oh, I want it to work this way, and it may not work the way we want to, and we just learn to release, and we learn to let go, and we learn to say, okay, it didn't go the way I wanted, but that doesn't mean I can't not try again. It doesn't mean I can't not try something different. It doesn't mean that it's all shit because it didn't work out this one time the way I wanted it to. It means I can try something again, or something different, or something new, and keep going at that. And that is like age-old wisdom that you may hear often, and it's true. Until I think until we do that in our lives consistently enough, and we have enough experiences of that, enough experience to rack that up and be like, okay, you know, I really have this belief and this faith that if I try something and it doesn't work the way I want to, it doesn't mean it's all shit. It doesn't mean everything's gone to shit. It doesn't mean my life is shit. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean any of those things. Those are just thoughts, and we can change them. We can redirect them, and we can change them, and we can change them. So these are some ideas that I wanted to share that inspired me about the Tony Robbins 2022 challenge that they're doing on this, in this private group that I joined. And thank you, Tony Robbins. Thank you for creating this. It's a very practical, like, it's a really great exercise. And I wanted to record this to share with people to try this. I know a lot of people right now are still in the whole resolution phase. Even despite COVID, even despite all the craziness in the world, there are still people that are like doing their resolutions, and they're focusing on the resolutions, and they're doing that very traditional path of resolutions. And I wanted to share this because I think this is a better approach to resolutions, a different approach to looking at it and perceiving, okay, we can do a resolution, we can do a goal, we can put a timeline to it and get it done. And in that process, this is a really good tool and technique to look at practically in our lives of, okay, well, along that process, what is an old story that I had? And now, this year, right now, this time, this month, this week, today, just for today, you know, I'm going to look at this new story, or what is this new story, and get clear on what that new story is. If you don't know what it is, that's why this is a great exercise, is to like figure out what it is. Look at yourself in the mirror. Go to the bathroom, go look in the mirror, and or get a camera and do this, do what I'm doing right here, and look at yourself and be honest with yourself and say, what is my new story? So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this on Instagram tomorrow. I'm going to post it when I feel like it's ready, and I'm just going to post it, and I'm going to share what my old stories are and what my new stories are. Excuse me, what my old stories were and what my new stories are. And I wanted to see what your guys's were, and you know, if anyone's willing to share. So if you do follow me on Instagram, you guys can comment that when I post it. I think I'm just going to post a picture of it. You know what? I might even just take a screenshot. And here, I'll actually show you guys right now. Like I said, let's do this. I'll put it here. This. I just want to expand this before I switch the screen over to show you guys. And I just have some other notes here that let's do this. Alrighty, so let me shift my screen over. Alright, here it is. So here's my notes. I'm going to highlight them so you can see them right here. Shifting the old story versus the new story. So it's an exercise, and unfortunately I can't add you guys to the group for Tony Robbins, the private group that I'm in right now doing this, but because you have to like sign up through this thing. You know what I might be able to do is I think I can share the link to it. I don't know, because I think it might expire because it's only a 5-day thing, but I can see about that later. Anyways, this is just for you guys to just try in your own time. Anyone who gets the chance to check this out or just wants to try this, I'd love to hear your guys' feedback, your old stories and your new stories, and maybe some thoughts around this. But here it is, my old stories. I'm not good enough because I hurt the ones I love. I'm not smart enough because I dropped out of college. I can't do because I failed in the past. I am good enough because I worked on myself and I grew. I am smart enough because I enrolled and graduated. I can do this because I proved it to myself by living in my car. I love that one. That one's great. I love this one right here. Ha 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 ha. Okay, anyways. So, on that note, with that being said, in conclusion, I think I'm gonna wrap it up for the evening. I am getting a little bit tired now, and I was really passionate and really excited and just felt a fire to get on and share this. And I just wanted to share this exercise and this little program I'm trying. I have never done a program like this. Like I've read all different kinds of self-help for myself. I've posted videos about different self-helps. I've shared them. I haven't really posted them. I can do that, I guess. I could share some of them. So if you guys follow me on Facebook, you'll see some of those videos. You just go to @NomadZen, you just search NomadZen and you'll find me. You can find me on Instagram. Instagram is where I do a lot of my content, and you guys get to see a lot of my art that I create as well, because I create, meditate, and explore so that I can live a balanced, fulfilled, and meaningful lifestyle. Right? So go ahead and follow me on Instagram if you aren't already. I usually will post updates if I'm going to go here on Twitch. So most of you guys know that already. I am on YouTube now. Woohoo! So NomadZen, same thing. Just @NomadZen on YouTube. You can search NomadZen on YouTube and you'll find a bunch of my videos. This will actually be uploaded there later. And what else? Twitter. So you can find my Twitter. For those of you here on Twitch, you can actually find it in the About section bar below this video. It should be below this video, or on my profile here on Twitch. You can find it there. It's actually under a different account. It's my main account. So you can follow it there, and yeah, go ahead and follow me, like, share it with your friends, comment. I would love to hear you guys' feedback on different things on this exercise. How has this worked for you? Has this worked for you? Is this bringing up some ideas of the past? Of past thoughts that you had about yourself that you maybe didn't realize that you had about yourself? And new thoughts that you'd like to have about yourself, or new thoughts that you're already having about yourself from this video. So thank you guys for following along. Thank you guys for your support. I'm really grateful for it. It has meant a lot in this time, especially with COVID and the whole thing, right? So please be safe out there in whatever way, shape, or form you see that to be in your life right now, with the circumstances of the landscape of everything in our country, everything in the world. Do what you feel is safe. Do your best to be safe out there in the world. I wish you all the best of the best, the best of the best. And Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing and sharing and commenting and supporting me in so many ways. And I really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned to the experience.